paperwork, holds a fighter from doing his job, especially at the level Roy's at. He's at a very high level, and I wish him the best, and hopefully he can get this taken care of, and we see him in the octagon soon. But as far as details, I do not know them.
Is that something you're warned about, though? Like when you're signing a contract, maybe not with the UFC, but if you're fighting in other promotions, do you have your manager? Your manager pretty much takes care of all of that for you. Am I correct, or do you guys are you pretty much involved in that the entire process?
Roy's a very smart guy, so. Like I said, I don't know the details, but when it comes to contracting stuff like that and the fight game, Roy's one of the smartest in the business. So, I'm not sure what he did doing that contract. I've never really had these issues. I fought in the Ring of Fire here in Denver, which is our biggest show, and then I had one fight outside that in Washington, D.C., and for me it was just just one fight deal, so I didn't have to worry about this bogus stuff going on with Roy Jones' contract. And then I was on the Ultimate Fighter, and the UFC contract. I fight in the UFC for free. I love being in the UFC, and I'm going to retire a UFC fighter. So for me, I really don't have a lot of experience with all these contracts, stuff like that, and that's why I got the best manager in the business, and Lex McMahon, and he's a former lawyer, and he goes over all this stuff for me.
Changing gears here, it says here that you trained Greg Jackson. What's your relationship with Greg? Are you still training with the Jackson guys?
So this is the deal with that. So Jackson's kind of a sister gym to us. So there's 3 gyms. There's the main gym in Grudge in Denver, Grudge Training Center with Trevor Whitman, our head coach. It's Trevor Whitman and Maul Easton, our jiu-jitsu coach. And out of Grudge is Nate Marquardt, Shane Carwin, Rashad Evans, myself, Evan Marshall. Those are the core guys. And then we'll go down to Jackson's, or he'll come up to us to help, depending on what we need, or if Keith or Cowboy or any of those guys are getting ready. And then also, same deal up in Montreal with Faraz at TriStar and George St. Pierre. George would come to ours. So it's kind of one big family, but at the same time, we're all based at a Grudge Training Center here in Denver.
So after the last UFC here in Germany, Dana White criticized Greg Jackson, saying his fighters are, I guess, too conservative, and that they're told they're winning the fight in the final round, and it's almost like they stop fighting. They get too conservative, basically. Your thoughts on that criticism from the UFC head?
Dana's in the business of putting on good fights, and fights where people are getting finished. That's what people like to see, and man, it's his business and his product, and I don't blame him for criticizing the guys. He wants to see finishes. I think Dana gets upset, and man, he wants. I think he's just trying to light a fire under those guys' ass. I definitely don't include myself in that. I've had all finishes, and the Gonzaga fight was not a boring fight, and I think that's more him just trying to light a fire under those guys, and say, hey, we're looking for finishes here. The average fan really doesn't want to see a decision. I understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, to get a finish, especially at the level Nate and George and Rashad are at, is tough, man. I mean, you're talking about finding the best fighters in the world, and you want to win, and all you care about is winning. So when they're up 2 rounds, they're not taking the risk to get knocked out or finish in the third. So it's a thin line, man. And George, Nate, Rashad have been doing it for a long, long time, and they're making a great living. They're going to go down as 3 of the best in UFC history. So, like I said, I understand both stance from both parties.
What? Just give us your thoughts. Did you watch the Marquardt Arqami fight?
Yeah, of course I did, man. Nate's like an older brother to me.
So your thoughts on that fight?
Man, So I didn't look at any spoilers. I didn't look at anything. I didn't want anyone's biased opinion, nothing. I watched the fight last night. I had Nate winning 2 of the 3 rounds. I had Nate winning 29-28 in a decision. Obviously, no matter what I say, I'm a little biased.
Right.
I've known Nate for years. Like I said, he's an older brother. Stepping away from that, go by the stats, man. Nate wins that in a decision. Look at takedowns. The only thing that those judges can score Okami on, I can think of, and this is why Okami won the fight, and I can definitely see why they did give him the fight if this is what they're scoring off of, and that's ring generalship. Obviously, he was he was controlling the ring, the octagon. Sorry,
right.
And he was the aggressor. Based off those 2 things, yeah, you give it to Okami. You looked at takedowns. Nate had more submission attempts. I know you don't get points for that, but still, submission attempts. He landed way bigger shots. He almost knocked Okami out, I thought. I had Nate win in the second and the third round. The first round's up in the air, but definitely the second and the third.
Does the judging sometimes, I guess the inconsistency in the judging sometimes bother you?
I mean, the UFC is fairly new. You compare it to the NFL and the NBA and the NHL. And UFC is right in that kind of group of organizations. They're fairly young. So the judging, is evolving just like the game is, and I think as the game gets bigger and gets definitely more worldwide, and it's going to start to adapt, and the judging is going to start to get even better. So it's frustrating, very frustrating, but Dana says it best, man. You can't leave it in the judges' hands, and and like I said, at the level Nate's at, sometimes that's hard to do, especially with a matchup with Okami. I can't remember the last time Okami got finished. Yeah, do you know? I mean, maybe.
No.
I mean, the guy wins decisions left and right, so it's kind of his gig,
exactly.
And it's a tough task to finish that guy. So, man, just the matchup in general had a decision written all over it.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, before the fight, I predicted Marquardt by decision. It's tough for me to say. I mean, it was such a close fight. Me personally, I had Okami winning narrowly, but I can see your side of the argument as well. I mean, it was such a close fight, and like you said, sometimes when you allow the judges to make that decision for you, it doesn't always go in your favor. Switching gears here again. Last question before we let you go here, Brendan. And we want to thank you for joining us here on MMASucka.com. You're making an appearance at Alpha Fights in Miami. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
I'm down there in South Florida. I'll be training out there and, kind of just getting away from Denver here. I haven't gone on any sort of vacation after a fight, and for me, it's just a little getaway, and it just happens to work out that I'm making an appearance down there, and I'm looking forward to the fights.
You Denver Broncos fan at all, or?
Huge Broncos fan, man. They put it on them today. I actually had the Chiefs win the AFC West, but You never know. The NFL's up in the air, man. You never know. It could go either way, like that Okami fight.
Yeah. What teams have impressed you so far?
Man, right now Oakland's playing great football, but Baltimore's tough, and definitely Pittsburgh, man.
Awesome. You're listening here to Brendan Schaub here on MMASucka Radio and at MMASucka.com and MMACanada.net. Brendan, before you leave us, any shout-outs you want to make?
I appreciate you guys having me on, and definitely check me out on Twitter. It's just at Brendan Schaub.
Awesome, Brendan. Thank you for joining us, man. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night, and all the best. I hope you get that Frank Mir fight for Christmas.
Thanks, brother. I really appreciate it, man.
Awesome. That was Brendan Schaub.